All right. Thank you for the crew saver, everybody. Great to see everybody here today for 5 Play Friday Live, where we look at plays and get better as basketball officials. Interesting. But it brought out fantastic. I should do that every episode. It brings everybody into the comments immediately with the crew saver. No audio. Mike Goodwin is in the house, as well as Darwin Sonata. W in the house. Greetings, W in Virginia. Oh, jeez, I'm terrible. Danny's in the house. Jason. Billy Mack joining us from Connecticut as well. Fantastic. All right. Hey, did anybody spend any time looking at the Nassau Summit at home? They had presenters, they had booths, they had stuff like that. Anybody look at that? I dipped in for some on-demand session review yesterday. It was very dry. It was very, what do you call it? Convention-like. We're just going to have to do a better job of being dynamic with our presentations to get more officials, younger officials, interested in watching training video, etc. So we need to do fun stuff. I haven't figured out the exact formula to do that, but we just need to do a better job. And whenever we do any sort of presentation, we need to analyze the video and say, what can we do to make this better? Janish. Anybody watch any of that Nassau stuff? I'd be curious to hear. All right, so I'm going to have to check my sounds going forward. Interesting. Yeah, generic, just stiff, and in some instances it's got to be that way. But there was one of the things I saw was talking about how to engage younger officials, etc. I think it was the Reps, some sort of subscription app for referee training. But in order to do that, we're going to have to break away from the stiff and stilted. One of the things about engaging young people and bringing them into this basketball officiating is, if we take a look from the outside, right? If we take a look, I'm a 23-year-old. I used to play. I'm thinking about it, whatever. Here's the deal. If I'm going to start officiating high school basketball, I get a chance to work with my dad and his friends, right? Because all the officials are, 55 to 65. That's where the great majority of officials are, right? So that fundamental proposition of working with my dad and his friends, quote unquote, that age group, is not necessarily like, oh man, this is exciting. Now maybe a younger official who wants to get better is like, I want to work with these veteran guys. I want to take everything that they have available. But just the dynamic of jumping into a room full of people with hair of a certain hue, right, is not necessarily the most exciting thing. And if we then layer on top of that dry training content, standing in a gymnasium, listening to somebody go over the way that the training has occurred in the past, I just think there has to be a better way to engage young people, maybe, and lots of ideas need to come in about how to maybe have cohorts of young officials, right? Like these 12 officials are going to work like a lot of games together. And they're going to be like, and then we're going to work them with a veteran partner, right? Occasionally, but they get to work games with younger officials together, make mistakes together, etc. I just think there's got to be ways to make it more appealing, more engaging for them. Gotcha. So Thank you for listening to my TED Talk on the need to engage young officials and find a way to do that. I certainly don't yet have the answer to that, but I'm in pursuit of that. We want to make our training interesting and viable, etc. All right. So with that, let us take a look around the block. I got an inquiry from somebody from Chicago about shot clock rules and restrictions, sort of starting to engage on, well, can we do a trial program, etc.? What are the rules you use in California, etc.? So interesting to see how that all works out. Dan Kelly's in the house from Virginia. Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate all the likes, everybody. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to move here. And I'm going to move here. All right. So I've done some work on the show. Give me some feedback at the end about the subtle changes, less mistakes. Right? We're trying to get better, but it's a fire drill around here between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. as I try to get the show together. Organization skills need improvement. But I think we have some good plays today. I think we have a good configuration, and the show should flow, right, without many hiccups along the way. Let's take a look at our rundown. Of course, every Wednesday, basketball rules expert, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. We look at rules scenarios and get better. Every Friday, 5 Play Friday Live, we look at plays, National Federation of High School, positioning, call correct, working the system, etc. And then occasional Monday master classes. Next one will be in a couple of weeks, and yet to be decided what we're going to focus on there. If you have an idea what would be a great topic, put it in the chat below. If you're watching on replay, hashtag replay crew, put it in the chat below. I read all the comments and respond to everyone that I possibly can. If you're new to the show, put new in the chat. Let me know where you officiate from. I'd be pleased to meet you. If you don't know me, my name is Greg Austin with thebetterofficial.com, where we craft video. Sometimes it helps basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. And as always, on plays, play scenarios, put your voice in the game, jump in the chat, in the conversation, and let your voice be heard. All right. Cool. Les O'Connor is in the house. The Zooch jumping in for as long as he can. You are absolutely correct, Billy Mack. Absolutely correct. Okay, let's get started with the show. Let's go here. Of course, if you're new, take a moment, like, subscribe, notify, so you don't miss out on any of our content, and share the stream right now. If you have a chance, put it on a social somewhere. Drop the link into a Facebook group. Let's see if we can get more officials on the stream so that we can all get better together. Cool. Cool. And I'm going to be here. Okay. Well, if we take a look at the calendar on the wall, it's Friday. Let's look at plays. Stick around. Greetings and welcome back to another episode of 5 Play Friday, the show where we look at plays, National Federation of High School Basketball rules, officials, were they correct in their positioning and the adjudication on the play, habits that are displayed that we could take with us and take into our game, both positives that we can embrace and negatives that we can avoid. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with thebetterofficial.com. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. If you haven't already done so, great time to hit like, subscribe, notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content, including live streams every Wednesday and Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. As always, we are supported by a fantastic group of show supporters. Today I'd like to give a shout out to Kevin Swan, Thomas Lyons, Marlon Dayub, David York, and Greg Becker. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. There will be a link in the show notes below. That was loud. Okay, tremendous. Get that out of the way and let's look at plays. All right, so this week we've been focusing on the throw-in in National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Knowing the restrictions, knowing what a violation is, knowing what's legal, and not being surprised on plays. If we focus on throw-in plays, we get great bang for our buck. There are a lot of throw-ins in the average high school basketball game. Knowing the rules and restrictions gives us the confidence that if anything happens in our game, we will know how to adjudicate it properly. Throw-ins are important. We've been focusing on it this week. If you've missed either of the previous two episodes in this week's series, the Masterclass and the Basketball Rules Expert episode, there will be a link above and in the show notes below. All right, let's get started today with our very first play.
And he misses the second as well. It's astonishing. Luigi says forget it. Walden to inbound. Yeah, you're not allowed to run along the sideline there. At the end line, rather. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
All right, so we have a designated spot throw-in play. Pretty straightforward. The official designates the spot, hands the ball to the thrower, the ball becomes live. So our temporary rules and restrictions during a throw-in, one of the three restarts in the game of basketball, during a jump ball, free throw, and a throw-in, special set of rules that apply only during the restart, so only during the throw-in here, but that player, that thrower, has a designated spot, which is an area 3 feet wide, of which they must keep one of their feet above. That's the key. So this player's behavior on this play, if we look at it, Oh, I see. Okay. Right. If we look at the behavior of the player here, the designated spot would be approximately the area of the white triangle, approximately the width of the white triangle. But they must keep one of their feet above the throw-in area. And on this play, they failed to do so. Right? Once he moves that right foot from above that area, at that point, the player has violated. So it's not a matter of a step to the right and a step to the left. It's a matter of keeping 1 foot above that area. And when you fail to do so, that is a violation by rule. So, super simple. obvious play to get us started, but one thing we have to understand is knowing the basics of violations, rules, and restrictions. We have to know what the thrower's restrictions are because, again, throw-ins, many things will occur in our game. A lot of unique situations will occur during throw-ins because a lot of throw-ins occur. So we have to have a couple of things going for us. One is we have to know the rules and restrictions, be confident in that. The other is we have to not react when something unusual happens, because unusual things will happen. We need to process, evaluate, and put the correct ruling on the play. The correct ruling on this play, called correct by the official. Love the mechanics, the demeanor, right? Everything about the way the official handled themselves, all is stuff we would want to model as basketball officials. Cool. Right? Simple play, simple play, simple play. I'm not sure we'll have any disagreement on this play. Yeah, clearly stepped out. Yeah, I agree the signage is distracted. I don't know. This looks like a FIBA game, right? Obviously. I don't know what the rules and restrictions are for that. Marcel? Let's go back. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they violated with a couple of fingertips. I don't see an obvious penetration of the boundary plane on that one. Could obviously legally drag, right? But a simple play to get us started, right? One of the basics, designated spot throw-in. All good. Oh. Marcel, I missed it. If he stepped out, I missed it. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next play.
Gonzaga right now on ESPN News. Coming up as part of the marathons ongoing right now on ESPN News. So UConn on a big call gets the ball back.
Got to get it in here.
And it's a 5-second violation. They can't get it in.
Yeah.
Apologies for the glitchy video on that, but another great basic play, a 5-second violation. Once the ball is at the disposal of the thrower, they have 5 seconds to release the throw-in pass. Okay? But it's also a great situation. Look at we have a 1-point game between two high-powered college programs with a minute to go in overtime, right? So it just reinforces the fact that if we have developed habits and fundamentals so that our count is strong, our count is accurate, then when we get into a high-pressured situation, we're going to perform, right? So we would want to bring practiced effort into this situation. I didn't put a clock on it. Looks like the official accelerates a little bit. And, one of the things we're going to naturally do in a count situation is potentially accelerate as we anticipate, we're going to have a 5-second violation and go a little faster. So when we watch our game video, we want to look and see if we exhibit that behavior and try to fix it and correct it and understand it. I apologize for the glitchy video there. That's challenging to look at on a regular basis. Right? So a simple play. 5-second violation, properly ruled, rewarding the defense for their work during the throw-in. Easy play. Let's move on to play number 3.
are at the monitor. If Colbert's not hurt, this is a nasty spill. Slipped on the floor. Did a split. And Blossoming couldn't believe his good fortune.
Right? So a great example of something unusual happening on a throw-in, right? When something unusual happens, we need to process the play and say, okay, that is wildly unusual. I've never seen that before, but was there a violation by rule? And if there is, we can always come a little bit late, recognizing we're going to have some processing time. We can always come a little bit late, but let's put the correct ruling on the play. So what is the correct ruling in this scenario? Obviously, not a designated spot throw-in. The player's moving along the end line and slips on a wet spot on the floor, goes down, the ball comes out of their hands, bounces, and then an opponent of the thrower picks up the ball and scores. What do you have on this play? Well, we know something funny has happened, but what are the rules and restrictions? A throw-in pass must be passed directly onto the court. A thrower is not allowed to bounce the ball out of bounds prior to going onto the court. When this ball touches the floor, does it have out-of-bounds status or inbound status? That would be the key question on this play. If we look at where the ball lands, pretty clearly out of bounds, on the line, out of bounds. Should have been a throw-in violation in this scenario. Right? But a play like this really emphasizes the fact, and I can't stress it enough, is that unusual things can happen on throw-in plays. Because they are so frequent, unusual things can happen, and we have to be just prepared for that and not have an immediate reaction when something untoward happens, right? Give ourselves a little processing time, say, well, wait a minute, I know what's illegal, and that did not qualify. Or I know what's illegal, and that did qualify. So this is a great example of that. Yeah. Okay. Marcel has a violation. I agree. Can you imagine this play happening in your game, and your brain is like, I mean, it looks, full court press, looks like a key moment of the game. I have no context. But obviously a packed arena, good stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look. On the previous play, I see. Okay. That's previous play. Okay, let me get there. So Les has a legal play. That's his initial reaction, okay, when we see the play. That's legal, okay? And that's important to recognize. We see things, we don't see the illegality of the play. Billy Mack says no violation. Chris, legal, no violation. Looks like the ball hit out of bounds, right? This is going to be part of our processing. If the ball bounced out of bounds, that is a throw-in violation by rule. So we have to recognize that for what it is. Yeah, the player obviously moves right in front where the ball hits, but, it's pretty obvious to me in watching the video that the ball did not bounce onto the court. At least part of the ball contacted the line. But of course, that's the other factor as well. All right. Wait, I forgot to change. That's another factor as well, is if we're not sure that the ball bounced on the court, our default should be, if we're not sure that the ball bounced out of bounds, our default should be legal play. That's until it's a legal play, until I'm sure it bounced out of bounds. If it bounced out of bounds, violation by rule. If it bounced out of bounds and not fully on the court, then it would be a violation by rule. I'm not going to get into that. Boo, boo, boo. Interrupted dribble. What the? Okay. All right. So we've had two basic plays. We've had one wildly unique play. Let's look at our very next video.
Fouled out. Said he didn't care. Wants the win. Does whatever it takes. Showed it there. Well, you can't do that. It goes in the main basket. That's what.
All right, another simple play. Designated spot throw in. Player, only restriction, keep 1 foot above the 3 foot wide throw in spot. When they jump with both feet off of that spot, they have violated by rule. Obviously an important part of this game, 2-point game, etc., but it's an obvious violation. So we put the obvious violation into the game. Simple play. Put it here to reinforce our understanding of a designated spot throw-in. Again, we're hammering home the basics with these plays. Basics, basics, basics. Oh my gosh, what's that? Something unusual. Basics, basics, basics. If we understand the rules and restrictions, we can adjudicate these plays. All right, let's look at our very next play. This is not a play that happens every day, right? So now we've hammered home the basics. Now we move on to an exotic play. When this happens in your game, it's like, whoa, what just happened? How do we adjudicate that play, right? It may be obvious to somebody on the crew, but it would be understandable. Have I ever seen this before in my game? Maybe no, maybe yes, right? But it's not a common scenario, right? The thrower releases the throw-in pass. The throw-in pass goes into the basket. Either basket, it's a violation by rule. If the thrower released the throw-in pass and it got lodged between the basket and the backboard, it would also be a violation by rule. Simple. I know that's illegal. I know the rules and restrictions. That gives me the freedom to confidently adjudicate throw-in plays. But when something unique happens, it may take us a moment. We could work together as a crew here and say, okay, one member of the crew says violation by rule, throw in back at the original spot, etc., etc. So another unique play that we've thrown into the mix that can give us pause on the court, but this is clearly a violation by rule. I'm going to expand these comments so I can see more. Right, and obviously we had this play in a previous 5-Play Friday, but it's great to see it because when it happens in our game, we're better prepared. I remember like my first year officiating here in California, we have shot clocks, and there was a play where a a ball got lodged between the basket and the ring, right? It was to be a held ball situation. And my instruction to the table was no reset, right? For whatever reason, I'm thinking held ball, held ball, held ball, held ball. No reset. And the ball is obviously contacting the ring. Sometimes our brain just like gets stuck in a moment. And yeah, that was memorable. Danny has a violation, and that's the other thing as well, is to understand that with all throw-in that's an important consideration as well, is that for all throw-in violations, if we have made a ruling that that is a throw-in violation, always returns to the original spot and the ball given to the other team, right? It would be, we could think, okay, the ball goes in the basket. Okay, that's where the violation occurred. We'll take it for an end line throw-in. But no, if we identify as a throw-in violation, always back at the original spot, ball given to the opponent of the thrower. Mike has it, of course. Les bringing up the possibility of what if it was touched. Right. So in our basketball rules expert episode, part of this series, there's a link to the entire series in the description below. But one of those plays was a similar throw-in play where the defense deflected the ball. It went up and either got lodged or went through the basket. But in that instance, the throw-in would have legally ended because the touch by a player on the court ended the throw-in, ended the restrictions, etc. In this instance, though, we do not have a touch by the defense, so we have a violation by rule. Jose is correct. No basket. All right. Cool. We're moving along. We're going to have a fast-paced show today. All right. So we've had what have we had? That was play number 5. Yes. All right. So we've had 3 meat and potatoes, basic, designated spot, basic violations, 5-second violation, super simple, 2 unique plays. Let's look at our very next play. Where's Greg? I'm showing growth on that play. Let me go back. Okay, so we're back to the unique, unusual. How do we adjudicate, right? So obviously we're after a timeout here, late in a game, close game. Team develops a strategy where they're going to have all of the players for the throwing team. This is not a designated spot throw-in. Player can move along the end line. All of the teammates of the thrower are positioned out of bounds before the play begins. Is that legal? We have to know that. What are the rules and restrictions during a designated spot throw-in? What are the rules and restrictions during a non-designated spot throw-in? During a non-designated spot throw-in, teammates of the thrower are allowed to be out of bounds. Usually this would happen after a made basket. During play, multiple teammates may be out of bounds. etc. It's illegal for teammates to pass the ball out of bounds. Legal. Understanding that. Coming out of a timeout, though, there is no restriction. Let's move Greg down. Need to show growth. There. Showed growth. Appreciate that. Right? After a timeout, there is no restriction, and the players are allowed to be at that part of the court. It's done in an effort to fool the defense, get them confused, etc., but it is a legal play by rule. Now, something that's fun about this is the official has to figure out, well, how am I going to administer this throw-in? Right? That's sort of a fun part of the play. This is not going to be covered in the mechanics manual. But it's great to see these plays on video so that when they happen in our game, right? So as officials, we want to anticipate things late in the game. So we have 16.6, team is down by 3. Right? Let's assume that. It's 86-83. I assume they're the home team, that they're down by 3. So on a throw-in play, what may they do? What do we anticipate happening? At this point of the game, we want to have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. We know how many timeouts are remaining, what kind of throw-in we have coming in, what we anticipate may happen in the game, not anticipating a call that we're going to make, but anticipating what may happen in the game. So there could be some play, when the game is closer, let's say it's a 2-point game with very little time. Sometimes teams will run a screener and try to get a foul by the defense. We need to anticipate unusual plays. We could have a thrower who passes to a teammate across the court who's also out of bounds. Again, anticipating those plays. Maybe we get a heads up when we get the teams out of the huddle, etc. But we want to not be surprised by these plays. And if we are surprised, to just process and say, okay, is it illegal? Is it illegal? Right? In this case, no. No, it's not. This is a legal play by rule, and one that's great to see on video so that when it happens in our game, we're better prepared to adjudicate the play. Legal. This is a legal play. I've had several inquiries about this. People like, hey, is this really legal, etc. Surprising because, so the question is not, is it legal? I would say the question is it illegal, right? If that's always our grounding principle, is it illegal? No, it's not. It's unique. It's unusual. I haven't seen it before maybe, but is it legal or is it illegal? No, it is not illegal. So therefore it's legal by rule. Maybe a football coach. Sometimes coaches in this situation are like, hey, I want to try this thing. I saw it in a collegiate game and I want to try it, etc. I don't see it either. And obviously what we want to do is make our actions as officials. What we want to do is make sure that our actions as officials on plays, especially in situations like this, be very clear, giving a visible, emphatic, big, right? Sort of enhancing it for the moment where this is important. Everybody knows we can run the end line here. Or everybody knows this is a spot throw-in. Or everybody knows, we see it in some NBA games where the official will face the player sort of with their feet wide and say, hey, that's your spot, emphasizing the fact that that's your spot. But we want our habits to be built in so that we always, after we come out of a timeout and we can run the end line, have great mechanics, etc. So we don't see it on this play. I think it's safe to assume that that's what we have on the play. Owned 106 is jumping in the chat. Tips when calling a technical foul. Make sure it fits the game. Make sure it can be supported on video. Make sure you know what kind of technical foul it is. And make sure you have a great demeanor and recognize the situation for what it is. We don't want reactive tees, jumping at players. No, that's on you, right? We don't want emotion in the game. It's business. It's just business, right? And moving on from there. That would be basically tips. No, there was no violation called. Owned. You can't get your head around technical fouls or calling tees? Can't anticipate this. No, we can't anticipate this, but we could anticipate something unusual, right? We're prepared for something unusual. Down 3, all they did was inbound the ball, right? Maybe they were looking for a long pass that didn't materialize. But down 3, we're not going to anticipate trying to draw a foul on a defender who's not aware that a screener is setting up. But we want to be ready for everything. And if we can get any sort of heads up from the team as we're bringing them out of the huddle, that can give us a clue, right? Like if it's a fouling situation, team says, hey, we're going to go for the steal, then foul, or what have you. They can provide us some context for what's going to happen next. Again, we don't want to anticipate calls, but we want to anticipate what the coaches may do in the game. Yeah. So what we can do is those screener plays, what we can do is anticipate that if the scenario fits. So this team is down by 3. We don't anticipate trying to get bonus free throws in this scenario. But if they were down 2 or down 1, if they were down 2, down 1, we may get that screener play on a defender who's closely, trying to harass the thrower. So we can sort of narrow things down in that instance. Well, it would be illegal if it was a designated spot throw-in. That would be illegal. But the teammates of the thrower on this play can start being out of bounds. They could step onto the court. They can step back out of bounds. The ball could be passed between teammates out of bounds, as long as the throw-in pass is released within the 5-second count. All of that would be legal. Chris, you're absolutely right, and your thinking is absolutely correct, right? So there's a couple things. Chris says, well, wait, what if we do something unique, right? Could we have a player behind the stanchion here, the basket, the backboard support, right? Could that player run behind? Okay. They are out of bounds. They are between the sidelines. They are illegal. They are not gaining an advantage by, they're not jumping off something that's out of bounds onto the court. But the thinking is correct. Well, what about this unique scenario? And what if they did this? And what if they did this? Right? And then the other thinking that Chris displays here is, well, that's not illegal. So therefore, it's legal. And that's exactly the mindset we want to have. That would be wild. That would be creative. That would be interesting. That would not be illegal, not be illegal, not be illegal. That's how we want to think about these plays. Awesome. All right. Okay. So, another unusual play. Now let's talk about a discipline scenario. Let's look at our next play scenario. Right. So, obviously, well, not obviously, it looks like a throw-in after a made basket where no team member, no player made themselves available for the throw-in. press, full court press situation. The official underhand tossed to the thrower. The thrower has the ball deflect off their hand onto the court. And the official rules, what do we have? I don't even know what happened on the play. It looks like they were poised and ready to rule a violation on the play. But what do we have here? We have one of the 3 restarts in the game of basketball. We must own restarts in the game of basketball. And what we absolutely need to know is, well, since a special set of rules and restrictions comes in during a restart, when does the restart start? When does the restart end? Okay? Status as well. Restart starts when the ball is at the disposal of the thrower. When is the ball at the disposal of the thrower? Right? If we hand or toss the ball to the thrower, or bounce the ball, as we should have in this instance, the ball is at the disposal of the thrower when they catch the basketball. So the throw-in here has never started by rule. Until the player catches the ball, the throw-in and rules and restrictions have not started. Contacting the basketball in this fashion, in this instance, is not the start of the reset. The official should have stopped play, reset, and ensured that the player had the ball at their disposal so that the throw-in could begin and we could get on with the play and the game. So in this instance, right, by the behavior of the official on the play, we see heavy processing going on, but we never get to the correct answer. The correct answer would be this throw-in has not started. We need to reset this play and re-administer the throw-in. Billy has it, never at disposal. Blow this dead start over. This, I would say, Chris, was incorrectly handled by the official. It's not necessarily, we can add adjectives such as lazy or things like that. It's not necessarily at all part of the play. It's like the official could not properly adjudicate the play. The official made a mistake. There's a lot of reasons why officials make mistakes, and we just have to recognize it for what it is. And we want to recognize when we make mistakes, how we were led to making a mistake. And if our crew makes a mistake, how did we as an individual potentially not help adjudicate the play correctly? Because when we make a mistake in the administration of the game or in a rules reference, a rules interpretation, a ruling on a play, we make that as a crew. So, officials make mistakes, and of course we have a segment here at A Better Official where I've made mistakes too, because we all make mistakes and we want to learn from those mistakes, etc. Now, of course, the demeanor of the official on the original toss of the ball was not exemplary, right? But that's what I would say on that. I agree with you, Chris. Bounce the ball. I try to encourage young officials is make a basketball pass as well. Because if you do, right, if in this instance we bounce the ball to the thrower, we're too close, right? When two players are are too close to each other on the court and they try to throw a bounce pass, invariably, right? If we create enough space to make a basketball pass as a guideline, we've created a great distance for the ball to travel and for us to be away from the play to properly adjudicate. Because one of the challenges we face when we're adjudicating throw-in plays is we've got the thrower's feet, we've got the thrower up top where they release the ball, we've got the defender's feet, and we've got the defender's hands, which may be 8 feet above 8 feet above their feet. Right? So how can we observe all of that? We need to have better perspective on a play and be backed up. So would have preferred to see the ball bounce to the thrower here. Umar's in the house. Good to see you, Umar. Bounce or hand, don't toss. I know a lot of officials think, okay, defensive pressure, right? The mechanics manual says defensive pressure in this instance going the other way to hand the ball to the thrower. I'm not a fan. Because again, I need to be in better position to adjudicate the play. Les, I could see how our official may have ended up contributing by maybe a player bounced the ball to them. We want to enhance the game and keep it moving. I can understand that position, though, definitely. Oh, I'm stealing that. Bounce when you can, hand when you must. I don't care if it applies. That is a great way to simplify things. When must we hand the ball to the thrower? Underneath their own basket or for an end line throw-in in their front court, we must hand the ball to the thrower. But again, mechanics are a guideline. Sometimes the game presents unique situations where we need to be, to do what's best for the play. Look at the previous play where all those players were out of bounds. Well, normally the official says, well, I would bounce the ball from here, except there's players there, so I'm going to have to be outside the players. Something unique has occurred, right? We can't override, all right, you guys have to move because I need to be here to officiate by using the proper mechanics or et cetera. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We need to be flexible and creative in handling unique situations, understanding, again, the spirit and intent of why the mechanics are the way they are. Zhu. But again, Billy, I am stealing that language. Bounce when you can, hand when you must. That is fantastic. So, Les, officials shouldn't be involved in this throw and let the ball bounce until one of the players picks it up. Yes, I can see that. Definitely true. I have a partner, Ray Allen, who's sometimes on these calls. Sometimes after a made basket, the team that's going to have the throw-in would throw the ball to the official, right, thinking that the official needs to handle the ball, and Ray would sometimes just duck. And the pass would go into the corner of the gymnasium. Super entertaining. All right. So, when we look at plays on video, again, we want to take positives and we want to take negatives. Okay? Maybe there's some things on this play where the official did some things we would not want to do in our game, right? It's not something we want to model. And like we always say, when you work with other partners, you're going to learn something every night. Some things to do, some things not to do, right? And we can learn from others' mistakes through video, and that's one of the fantastic parts of looking at plays on video. So let's look at a similar play and maybe see behavior that we could model. Let's look at our very next play. Okay, that was a weak pass. So again, on the previous play, we talked about making a bounce pass. While we bounced the ball to the thrower, it was not a bounce pass. It was not passed with enough force and energy. The player reaches out, fails to grab the ball. Sometimes players in this instance will bail you out because they have good hands, and the ball bounces on the court. Immediately build into your game the reaction that we are going to reset this throw-in. Boom. Every time. Just reset. Make it a habit. Reset the throw-in. No confusion. We get it right. Now, does this player actually violate? Let's make a determination, right? When the ball is initially fumbled and the ball contacts, has the throw-in begun at this point? No, it hasn't. Right? So in spite of that fact, right, the throw-in would begin right here where she collects the ball and has the ball at her disposal. So we could have a situation where we just let it go, but no, don't do it. Don't do it. Build the habit into your game. Immediately fix. The ball is dead. Nothing's happening. Eliminate any confusion, any possibility of a mistake here, and get the play going properly in this instance. So, similar play, handled more effectively, right? Displaying better habits, stop play, build this into your game. Good things will happen. Jay, so on the previous play, what happens if a team doesn't pick up the ball, say, in a close game with 10 seconds left? And that's a great scenario. And again, it's something we want to be prepared for when it happens in our game. So let's say black scores to cut the lead to 1 with 10 seconds on the clock. Ball goes through the basket. The opponent does not pick up the ball immediately. They want to see the clock run. Okay? But NFHS said we're going to add a rule that the ball is at the disposal of the thrower when the official deems that it's available to that team and begins their count. Okay? So even though the player hasn't picked up the ball, if the official in their judgment says you have had enough time, it's available to you, and I'm going to begin a count, then we could potentially have a 5-second violation. And that is what should occur in that scenario when a player doesn't, just says, I'm not going to pick it up. We're going to let the clock run out, right? That's why the restriction was added. The official can add that count, and a 5-second violation would result. And we want to have, when the 5-second violation results, we want to make sure we have the correct time on the clock when the clock is stopped. Once you determine the ball is at their disposal, start your count. You reach 5. Les has it 100% correct. Awesome. Awesome. We're all getting better together. Adult beverages. No, it's too early. We're going coffee. Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. So we're going to be terminating things a little early today. Another scheduling conflict for me. So we've looked today at plays, throw-in plays. And we've identified a couple of unique aspects. One is sometimes it's just straight meat and potatoes, easy call. 5-second violation, designated spot, leaving the designated spot, easy violations. But we also recognize that unusual things can happen during throw-ins, and when they do, we have to give ourselves time to process. We have to recognize that we are evaluating, did something illegal occur? I know when a throw-in starts and when it ends. I know the rules and restrictions during a throw-in. Did something illegal occur? No. Did something unusual occur? Maybe. But did something illegal occur always has to be our guiding principle that we're looking for. And we just recognize that unusual things are going to happen during throw-ins because they happen so frequently in our game. So this culminates our week where we're focusing on throw-ins. And one of the things we recognize, an overriding concept, is these happen a lot in our game. Understanding the rules and restrictions, knowing how to adjudicate properly, and knowing how to administer properly is a great area to focus on as a basketball official. There's great bang for your buck, right? I'm not so good at the jump ball restrictions. Okay, that's great. That's great. They happen once a game, right? But if I'm great at my throw-in restrictions, I'm great at my throw-in administration, I'm I'm taking off a big chunk of what we do as basketball officials. So it's a great area to focus on. Throw in rules and restrictions. This culminates our week where we have the master class, the basketball rules expert, and now the 5-Play Friday. There will be a link in the description below to the entire playlist, a great area to focus on for young basketball officials. What? I'm out of plays. Let's see where we are. Okay. All right, let me wrap it. Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the end of the show. Much appreciated and much love. Now would be a great time to do all the things like subscribe, notify, and share the video with other basketball officials so that we can all get better together. Have to give a shout out our fantastic show and channel supporters Kevin Swan, Thomas Lyons, Marlon Dayub, David York, and Greg Becker. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. There will be a link above and in the show notes below. As always, here are the additional videos. Here's our masterclass. Here is our basketball rules expert episode. Make your choice, choose wisely, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Oh, that went pretty well. We're getting better. Hey, so give me some feedback. So I changed the video process a little bit. There were just a couple of hiccups. We had the one glitchy video on the 5-second. I don't know how that occurred in the processing, but a little smoother, a little more seamless. Darwin, you had a play scenario. Refresh my memory. I just looked at it this morning. Refresh my memory. Thank you, Umar. Thanks for... Philharmonic? That guy? Yeah. He's hanging out with Adam's Apple and not to be heard from recently. But Phil's a great guy. Great guy. Yes, yes. I have a hot breakfast date every morning. Darwin, what was that play? I don't remember. So I am going to go back and check out some of that NASO content. There's got to be some ideas there, some things that we could do to improve training, etc. I'm going to, anytime I see anything creative done in a training environment or a Zoom call environment, things that are done well, right? We want to think about ways to bring that, incorporate that, make that more of a standard, get people up to date. And of course, we're using a little higher level technology with the eCam Live. There's always a link below for anybody who wants to have an explore with utilizing that technology that allows us to display our a set, or allows them to bring in graphics, allows them to switch between scenes, make video access more accessible, etc. Always looking to do well. Right. So Darwin, your play was, a throw-in play after a made basket, teammate tosses a ball to the thrower. No, the teammate steps out of bounds, but the coach wants another player to handle the throw-in. The player tosses the ball to the player coming off of the court who catches the ball midair and then lands out of bounds. So their status would be on the court stepping out of bounds, right? So we could have a violation there. The key question is, when does the throw-in begin? If the throw-in began, then we would have a violation for the player being in control of the basketball, out of bounds, throw-in has begun, and they toss the ball to a teammate, the teammate violated, then we have a violation. But if the throw-in hadn't begun, then we just have the ball being passed between teammates in a situation where a basket has been scored and they are going to then return to the court. So it's all about judgment about when the throw-in began on the play. If in your judgment, and it sounds like your judgment was that the throw-in had begun, then it's a violation by rule. We would hope that if that was your judgment, that we would have a visible count, which would cement the fact that the throw-in had begun, and go from there. Now, the great news is not a lot of head coaches or anybody knows what throw-in rules and restrictions are. We could bluff our way through even if we screwed it up. But that's, yeah, 5 count had already started, then fantastic. That makes things really simple. If then the throw-in had begun, right? The throw-in pass was if the teammate had stepped out of bounds and then the ball was passed to them. That's legal, but they passed to a teammate who had inbound status, caught the ball in the air, and then landed out of bounds. So that would be an out-of-bounds violation, not a throw-in violation, but a violation by rule. Great clarification. Mike has it. Teammate who has inbound status has now caused the ball to go out of bounds when they step out of bounds with the basketball. Absolutely correct. Well, maybe, Billy, in its whole, it was not well done or was stiff or stilted or whatever, but where are the gems? Where are the gems? Is there something in there that we can glean the way that somebody was on camera? When you see, one of the problems with Zoom calls especially, so they have a panelist. One thing they did very well, I thought, was we've got 5 people on the call. We've got a coordinator, and then we have 4 people who are presenting. Somebody's handling the panel, and here's the panel. And they did a great job of framing them all on the screen. That was all good. And then going to, okay, this person's talking, let's go to that person. That whole process was really strong. But when you have people on camera who are not well lit, or their camera angle is such that, they're, looking like this up at the camera or things like that, it can be really tough to view. So that's on the people on the panel side, and it's something that we all need to get better at so that our video content is more viewable. Okay, I've got a hot date for a hot breakfast. I am going to wrap things up by doing all of the things. Give me just a second. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fantastic. I appreciate everybody joining. We will be back next week. Everybody make it a great day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in the very next video. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Take care.